Hey there, I'm Dante. Welcome to a look at Humanitix for your event ticketing. I'm currently in a hotel room in Perth, very unwell at the moment, so I'll keep smiling and keep pushing through it. I've got a really bad throat and a little bit of a cough, but I've got my honey and lemon tea here ready. Let's take a sip of that and make sure we can get through it. That's the perils of a southern winter when you're actually a tropical princess like I am. So first of all, Humanitix can be thought of as a bit of an alternative to, say, Eventbrite. Eventbrite's kind of the giant in the room. It's the one that's been around for so long and is used so intensively by people to take bookings for things like online events and stuff. But Humanitix is an Australian startup that's a not-for-profit and does actually send all of its excess profits to various projects around Australia and around the world. So that's the very big difference in their two of them. One is a private equity firm that makes as much money as it can. The other one is a for-purpose organization. For some people, that might be a really big difference. So we'll look further into it to get an idea of what Humanitix does. Now, it's not just the platform you pick. It's not just the admin. It's kind of like you look at what is easier to do and what might be more difficult to do, and also what might be the cheaper part when it comes to fees, particularly if you're taking money for your events. There's a different fee structure in Humanitix as what there are as opposed to Eventbrite, for example, and some other platforms as well. In fact, there's some other ones like I think it's called I can't remember the name of it now, but there's an even cheaper platform, which is a business and not a for-profit or for-purpose organization, like the like Humanitix is. So your ticketing choice is really about, whether you look professional or amateur, really. You can do tickets that are just done through, some kind of Canva design that you do tickets and maintain a database or something, or a Google form or something like that. Or if you use a real platform like Humanitix, there is then a cost that comes with that. Although it's completely free for those of you who are running free events, particularly those that are online events, there's a lot of stuff you can do. But it does come at a loss of some of the convenience of what, say, Eventbrite does. The costs don't sting at all, really. Free events, they cost nothing, but pay events run about 30% less in fees than what the average market price is. So you need to see whether that's something that's important to you. Every feature is free. There's no locked-in pro tier that you have to pay some kind of, some kind of subscription for. Unlimited tickets. You can do wait lists. You can do discount codes, all that kind of thing. Even the analytics of what your events are doing is all included in the basic tier that's here. There's no paid tier as such. Not like some other formats, which you have to pay a monthly subscription in order to access particular things. But it also is something that does give 100% of their booking fee profit to charity. And that makes a lot of difference when it comes to, particularly if you're a not-for-profit or a full-purpose business or a social enterprise. Buyers don't resent the booking fee quite so much if they feel like it's going to a good place and not just going to some monolithic tech company. Buyers stop resenting the fee so you can actually market that fee as a point of difference between you and, say, other events that are not using this. It is Australian. It is not for profit. It has big backers behind it, founded by guys from the Atlassian Foundation, Google.org, and the New South Wales government, all put money into it. These guys have raised about $13.8 million. I believe that as their recent tranche went out, has brought that up to over $20 million this year has gone out to help in these various areas. It only operates in Australia, New Zealand, US, and UK so far, but that will stretch further as they can scale up their resources. They can't scale up quite as fast as some others because they're not backed by venture capital money. They have to sort of give away part of their profits to, the projects that they're supporting. But 30% average fee saving when you switch from something like Eventbrite to Humanitix. I've got a bit of a, I'm going to send you this, by the way. There's the online guide which will allow you to be able to calculate this yourself. But if you're charging, say $200 for a ticket to something, I'm going to take up 200. Here we go. Probably just type it in, it'll be easier. There we go. So if you're doing, say, a $200 ticket, the buyer is going to pay $209.89. The booking fee of $9.89 is going to go to charity. And that way you're going to receive $200. So you receive a full $200. That's if you're at the standard rate plus 99 cents. So what's happening is that the platform is getting the 99%, the standard 4% is this is when you pass it on to a buyer. So if you're doing that and you're passing on all those fees to the buyer, so the full $209.89 is going to the buyer, but you decide to absorb the fees, you're going to take about a $10 hit. So you're going to absorb it yourself. You'll take a $10 hit. That's if you are a business or a standard individual. If you're a charity or a school, that then drops down where the fee is going from 4% down to 2.5%. So that is still significantly less than, even at the 4%, is significantly less than what Eventbrite's charging. And they're also charging more for that 99-cent fee. What they're doing here for charities and schools is it's 2.5, and that's not for profits in general. It doesn't have to be a charity, it can just be a not for profit. 2.5% plus 50 cents. So what happens if you pass on the buyer, they're paying $205.50. The booking fee of $5.50 goes through to the charity. If you absorb the fees yourself, you're losing, about, $5.50. So you're not losing a huge amount of that $200. When you bring that down to a lot of your smaller costs, that most of you are going to be running things that say about $20 to $30 each. As a standard person passing it on to the buyer, you get the 20, but they pay $21.97. Absorb it yourself, you get $18.03. So whether that matters or not, and that sort of level when you're charging, say, $20 to $30 or even less for an event, it's usually that you're just charging them something to make sure they actually turn up. Because as we all know, free events have a bad habit of people just not showing up even if they're booked for it, and it's really annoying. Charities, passing on the buyer, you get the full $20. You get a dollar booking fee goes on to the charity. Absorb it yourself, you lose a buck. That's not too bad at all. So you can set up your ticketing in 6 moves: creating your event, picking a date structure, adding your ticket type, setting capacity, and styling the page. I think it's best we look inside the platform itself. And this is what the platform looks like behind the scenes when you've logged in. And we've got a lot of events in here. This is what we use for the Busy Business Digital Solutions program. So this is where we have all of our events. So you can see we're not taking any payments for anything. We've got no refunds or sales or absorbed fees. We're just using the platform as a free ticketing platform. I can go into my events and see all my live events. So I can see them all here. So I can see what's coming up soon. Tomorrow, I've got this one, the 2, 3, 4, 5 content. I can see how many people are booked for it ahead. Some things have got more than others. Some things have none. Some things have lots of people. So it depends. What we would be doing, though, if we were in here to create a new event, we just go new event on the top right-hand corner. And that's when we start that process. So when it says you create the event, what you're going to do is add a title and a structure. So I'm going to call this test event 1. And what it'll do, it'll generate a URL based upon test event 1. So it'll generally do there, it'll insert that in. So test event 1 wasn't available. So it adds on a little bit of a code at the end just to make that the URL. But what you can change that to be something like busy business. Excuse me. And then you can make that your own. If it's available, that is, and it'll save it for you. Host profile is down to who is actually hosting this. In this case, it's going to be Busy Business, or I can make it for myself under Clickstarter. Because what you can do is my login is my own, but it also has been given access to the Busy Business events, so I can create events for them and for me when it comes to all these workshops and webinars that I'm doing. Then we select an event type. So in this case, I'm going to say it is a meeting or networking event, maybe a seminar or talk. I think more like a class. So class, training, or workshop. And you can put a category in there. This is really only for, I guess, to sort of set out when people are searching for events on the platform. That's a word worth having, is that Humanitix doesn't have the searching for what's on kind of traffic to the same degree as what Eventbrite does. Eventbrite is a destination of its own where people go and look for what's on in their town. Eventbrite is very well known for pushing events through to Google. So if you say, for example, what's on in Canberra this weekend, you will be able to see what's on in Canberra this weekend based upon not just what people put on websites, but what's in, say, Eventbrite. Humanitix does this as well. It allows its events to be scraped and pulled into Google as well, which is pretty good, which means then both of those platforms also can have their events appear in AI searches as well. So I say go to Gemini as an example. I can say I'm in Perth at the moment. So what's on at night for business events in Perth this week? And one of the first places it's going to go to is Eventbrite. So if we see where the searches are going, go to Eventbrite, go to Google, go to also Humanitix. Will bring us a whole lot of things. So we've got a few different things in Monday. We've got the 3:30 awards. We've got quite a few things up. Oh, that's going to be cool. I should go to that because I'm here on Wednesday evening. I might go along to that because I've used to host one here and up in Darwin. So there's a few things on that you can see in there. And what you'll find is Eventbrite, 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 Eventbrite. Everything is Eventbrite. So you can see that there is a bit of a difference when it comes to Eventbrite. What I can then specifically ask is, can you see what's on in Humanitix in Perth this week? That's if I can type correctly. And then I've specifically got to go. But interestingly, they've defaulted to going to Eventbrite. So I've had to ask it specifically to go to Humanitix. So there's something that is worth looking at. They do have a few Humanitix things on there. They haven't, then now finally they're linking them through. So that doesn't, Fremantle shipping news, that to me isn't Humanitix. But they're using Humanitix for their bookings in this one. So there's only really two things there, and then nothing close to even what I'd be looking for. So that's a big difference, that the coverage that these different platforms have when it comes to promoting your event outside of you promoting it yourself. People go to Humanitix as a destination to see what's on. And as you can see, the AI platforms pick it up as well. In this case, Gemini doesn't even recognize that Humanitix is a place to go and get it. ChatGPT might be different, Claude might be different, but that's really worth bearing in mind if you don't have a good network to put your stuff out there, or some kind of other way to promote your stuff other than putting it on the site and hoping for the best. I mean, you can put like subcategories in here as well. I'm just going to go maybe small business and startups. And then we can have a basic description. This is a really base description. This is just going to be, ever wondered what it's like to start a business? Here's the place to start and make your dreams come true. So it's really basic. As you see, you've got 160 characters there to work with. So that gives you a bit of a start. Keywords are really just like, that people might search for specific things like startup, new business. Just bear in mind, they're one word words, so not two words. You have to jam the two words together. So I might go Perth, might go Inaloo. I don't know where we're going to host it. Maybe Osborne Park. So you can't put a space there. And then you've got whatever keywords you want. Once we do that, we continue, and that saves that information. Next thing, what you're going to do is put very much the details of that in. So the time, for example. The time is, let's make it on the 5th. I'm going to go up against the F Up Nights at 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we can then set either a location, or we can put some sort of custom value in there, or it can be online, where you go, okay, online, and we put down a little message in there, say, hey, it'll be done on Zoom, or it'll be done on Teams, or it'll be done on some other webinar platform that you'll be sent the details for in the email. In this case, I'm just going to do an address. I'm just going to say it's at Belgian Beer Cafe, Murray Street in Perth, only because I drove past there last night and it's in top of mind, even though I don't drink beer and I don't go out. So once we've got that, we continue, and this takes us over now to the page design. This is where we design our banner image. Now, it's not the same dimensions as Eventbrite. Eventbrite generally goes for a 16:9 standard presentation format. Humanitix has a logo you can put up, which is 500 wide, so a 500 by 500 logo, or a 500 by, I think, 1,000 logo. But then they've got their images, which is the image banner that you might see at the top of it, which is actually a weird format of 3,200 by 1,600. So it's a little bit different. It's like a 2-to-1 1 ratio. So if we go to Humanitix and look at what some of the events on there look like that are really well done with this. So for instance, one of ours, that fits in the spot perfectly. So it doesn't, go over, doesn't get clipped off, doesn't get cut off. Same with this AI systems for small business. This actually works. So you don't have to sort of worry too much about it not all fitting. It works in the right way. So these people have all done the right shape. But if I had done the standard Humanitix shape, it wouldn't fit so well in here, and it would probably crop at one of the sides. So I'd have to bring it in a bit. So to be safe, really, use your when you do this 2-to-1 shape, just try to put most of your information in the center rather than on the sides. If you're using it, for instance, in both, if you are working between Humanitix and Eventbrite, it's good to have all your stuff in the center, much in the way that this Matter of Facts workshop is done, so they can change this between platforms, one and another. Same with this Palace of Angels and the author thing here, where they've actually put it all in the center. So if it gets cut off at the sides, it won't make that much of a difference. So once we've loaded up our image, I'll just load up one of my most recent ones I just did. So let's go this one. As you can see, it fits it in perfectly. So we can make that come down in size, or we can just make it fit exactly the way it's meant to, which I can't seem to do because I keep playing with it. So here we go. Let's save that. It's going to insert that in and give us a little bit of a preview on the right-hand side about how that looks. Oh, got it. Great. Okay. Now I can then change the color here. I'm going to change it to one of a color that's closer to what I do in my business. And then I can change what it says here to either get tickets, register, buy tickets, donate, buy now, RSVP, custom. So I can put in a custom message, let's go. And it will allow me to have let's go. Once I save that, it'll show up in the preview as well. I generally go register because I find the buy tickets is a little bit weird when people aren't buying anything. It's a free program. So I go register, and then down the bottom, it'll say register on the test. So once we flick between the two, hopefully this will update for us. No, maybe not. Yeah, I have to save it to continue in order to see that. Now our description is where we just got to go with what the best practices may be. And honestly, this is just something you can do in AI. Say, this is what I want to run. This is when it is. This is what they're going to learn. Put this in a format that works for a Eventbrite or Humanitix description, and it'll usually get pretty good. I like to keep mine fairly short, so not too long, but descriptive enough. So you can see over here, that's not too long. That's got a fair bit in there, but it's not too long so that it becomes too hard to read. The only thing I'd change in there in my one is perhaps break it up into some, maybe some dot points, bullet points, just so it's a little bit more formatted and easy to read for those who perhaps have dyslexia and not doing really well with long blocks of writing. That's something I would change about that myself. So perhaps here I went, and this is the opening sentence. And then I might just go, point 1, bullet list or numbered list, point 1, point 2, point 3, etc., etc. So in just best practice, it'll be good. Now, down the bottom, I'll do a section. You can save some sections. Like, for instance, I put here another description, which for me would be something like this. Webinar is presented by Dante St. James from Clickstarter Education on behalf of Busy Business. So if you need to put like something you have to put down there, I would include things like sponsors for the Australian government. And one of the reasons why I put this in here and save it in place is what I do a lot of the time, I duplicate one event to the next event, which will bring across this description every time. So whilst I'll change the base height, the top description, this bottom description, I don't really ever change. That always stays the same. So I don't have to keep typing and retyping that all the time. So as we continue that, it'll now take us to our tickets. So tickets could be general admission. It's free capacity. Say for a webinar, we're going to make it 100 people, but in person, it might just be, I don't know, 20, something like that. And then that's where we go, okay, we can add in different levels of pricing. The beautiful thing about this is we can tier these out. So I can call this early bird. So early bird pricing is only going to be available for 10 people of the 20. And the sales start at, let's just say today, and they end tomorrow. And then I can say for early buyers only, I can keep it hidden if I want to or not. I can have my own image for that if I want to. I don't really need to have that. So what I'm going to do is save that particular kind of pricing. So it's not what I wanted. I wanted early bird pricing. There we go. So 10 people at early bird pricing of say $1. And then I'll save that particular ticket. And I can go back in and now set a second ticket that allows me to go for someone else as well. So I've got one ticket already. I can add a second one in there as too. So I go duplicate that and it will allow me to, where are we going? Advanced setting early prices down the bottom here. And then I'll add in a second one from there. We can have groups of tickets. You can package tickets. You can order them. Tickets I don't want to get too far into because that's something you'll explore whatever your specific requirements are. And this is only a very, very short half an hour webinar as well, just to give you an idea of how this works and how to move around it. Then what you can do is add things like checkout questions. So in the case, let me just save that. If you need to ask additional questions of your attendees, such as I must have your ABN in our case, or certain questions about eligibility for the program, or you might have something in there where you want to gather a bit more information about what level they're at or where they heard about you. So that's a really good one. It could be something like just a text area. I'm going to do text area because text area is bigger. Gives me more room to move, and I can go, where did you hear about us? And you can make those questions either required or appear before or after the checkout. So for instance, you'll get a lot more people who will fill out the form if it's before, and a lot less people will fill out this form if you do it after. But you'll also get a lot less people drop out of the process because they look at an extra set of questions, go, I don't want to fill out questions. I'm not going anymore. And then, yeah, you get a lot more conversions with less questions. So sometimes it might be better off putting those questions afterwards, and you may just get a lower amount of people. But in such cases, what we do with this program, we actually have to get those questions answered as a qualifying step towards attending the webinar in the first place. And then once you've got that and you say that you can then publish it any time. So if you've done enough now, up at the top here, you've got your publish button and you can preview it to see what that's going to look like. So I've got my purple color, I've got register, got all my details in there. I can look at registering and what it's going to look like once they do early bird pricing. Great, I'm going to get 2 of those. It's going to cost me, once I've actually got everyone in, it's going to cost me that much once I pay all my fees, because there's a big fee. And this is the difference. When you got low cost tickets, the fee sometimes can be more than the ticket itself. So that's worth bearing in mind as well. So keep those tickets, if you're going to charge for them, at $10 or more, only because number one, it helps to guarantee people will turn up. And secondly, you don't want your fee to end up being more than what your actual ticket cost is. Otherwise, it becomes a bit silly. There's different promotion things in here. You can do access codes, discount codes. You can attach it to a Facebook event. So you can connect your Facebook and do it through there. I wish I do that with Eventbrite. I'm sorry, with LinkedIn as well, because most of my events are business related. And you can have a little virtual event hub as well, where you can create a landing page where you can send people through, which has a bit more than just the tickets for sale. It can have videos, you can have extra links to other webinars. If you've got maybe a series of webinars over an event day, you can connect them all through this virtual event hub as well. Eventbrite's got very, very similar things. You've got seating maps in there. You can include how you take your payments and fees, what gateways you want to pay out to with your own account, all that sort of thing. So you can pay it into bank accounts, you can pay it into a credit card, all that sort of stuff as you normally would. Once I go publish though, that's going to go live. Obviously, for obvious reasons, I don't want to publish that now. So I'm going to delete that one. So you can then see, basically where we go to set that up. Now, there's one little hiccup in Humanitix above Eventbrite is Eventbrite automates your reminder tickets, reminder emails. So there will be, Humanitix will send out an immediate confirmation of your booking email, but it will not send repeating reminder emails. You have to set them up yourself under this area called email campaigns at the top. So on those email campaigns, you see I've set up a bunch of these. It's like dozens of them. I'll do a new campaign, call it an event reminder email. And then I give it a name. So I can say Monday's seminar. Pick the event down here under recipients of what event you want to attach that to. So I'm going to attach it to this one. Apply that. And then it's going to ask you for your event dates down here. If you've only got like one event, um, one date for this, it doesn't matter. You don't need to select that. But if you've got that one event that's got several dates and times attached to it, you might want to include the dates down here as well. But you don't have to do that if you only got the one. I send my emails to the buyers and the attendees. And what I generally find is pretty much the buyers and the attendees. They might have three people on their booking, but they don't put in three different email addresses. They just put their own in. But either way, just in case they put the attendees' email addresses in there, I like to put that in there too. What I'm going to send is the all orders. I can add personal touches by saying all these different things. Don't really necessarily need to, because it does put a little bit of a couple of placeholders in that email to begin with, especially in the subject. So it says event name is coming soon. So that might mean that you need to keep your event names quite short. Otherwise, that looks really, really long. We've got a lot of coding in ours. So for instance, if I was going to one of ours, this one's got a really long name, Small Business AI Masterclass Coburn Central Beginner. That's made it so we can sort of easily tell what it is. But in one of these emails, that would look silly. So I'd say, our Coburn workshops, um, workshops are coming up soon. I don't see any need to have an order number on the subject, so I just usually remove that. I include the event banner image in the event location and date because we obviously want to remind them of when it is and where it is. And the event banner image is just basically that the image that's in here in that thumbnail. So I don't need to have that necessarily, but I like to include it just for a bit of branding. You keep the hello first name, and then you might change what all this is in here. So mine might be something simple as you are booked into just a friendly reminder that you are booked into our workshops on Tuesday. We look forward to seeing you there. Now, this is where I might include a link through the webinar. So I go, HTTPS, you can join if there's the webinar here. And then what I might do is highlight that, bold it, underline it, and then add a link. So webinar.link as an example. Insert that in, and that's where I'd have my webinar link. The webinar link is not going to be in there because you don't have an automated way to link through your event through to something like Zoom, like you do in the accounts on Eventbrite. So whatever your thing is, whether it's Teams event, webinar, WebEx, or whatever you're using, Zoom, this is where you would link that through in here. Otherwise, people won't know where they're going on to if it's a webinar. That then gives you the option to go how many days before you're going to send it. So I usually do 3 days out, and I verify and schedule that. What I may do is then do a 1 day before, in which case I would say that is your workshops are on tomorrow. Booking our workshops and change that to tomorrow. Workshops tomorrow. Spell. And then I would verify and schedule that. And finally, what I do is like a couple of hours before. So 0 days and 2 hours before. And then I verify and schedule that. But what I would say is in here, I say our workshops today. Workshops on today or this afternoon or whatever the style of language you want to use that makes it very clear to them what's happening. So in this case, it'd be no days, and then there'd be 2 hours. No days, and then 2 hours. Come on, do it. There we go, 2 hours. And I verify and schedule, and that verifies and schedules that. So if you want to look at how that looks in my other email campaigns, I'll just cancel out of that one. You can see I've got them set at 3 hours before your event, 3 days before your event, 1 day before your event, 3 hours before your event. So I've got very much for webinars on the 10th of September. I've made it so it's 3 days, 1 day, 3 hours. And that's my general routine. You might want to include it's just beginning in 10 minutes link. So they get a final message with that link on there. You can do that as well. But the key is that the Eventbrite does this for you. and it sets out a specific schedule of when it sends them out. So I'll do, I think, a day before, 10 minutes before, all that sort of thing. But Humanitix doesn't. You need to set that up yourself. So you got to make sure you do that. Otherwise, people won't get your link through your webinar, and they won't get that final set of instructions of where they've got to go to get to your workshop or your event or whatever it is you happen to be doing. So that gives you an idea of how it works for you. We know it's Australian, we know it's not for profit. I'm going to send you through, if you register for this, all this information here, setting up your ticketing in those moves. So you've got step-by-step instructions of how to do it. Also, how it is generally strong for online events through the confirmation email, scheduling your campaign of reminders, and then setting up your virtual event hub if that's something you think is really good for you. The email is brilliant but dangerous because there's no automatic reminders. You must schedule every email. And that means that you're not to market past attendees. All I do when I send a past attendee is I say, here's the resources for today's webinar. If I then start saying, hey, thanks for joining us, I'd just like to remind you of our amazing products and services that you can now buy, people can report you and you get in trouble and you lose out. If you want to do email marketing, you can export your attendees. So if I go into, say, a past event, I can see my attendees, say, for past, not upcoming, but most relevant. Say for this one here, I can pull out what those attendees were by going into manage attendees. I can look for the attendees and I can then export that and their email addresses in the way that I need to. So you've got a bunch of email addresses there that you can then start to get out. So I won't show you that for privacy reasons, but you can then export those emails out to a CSV so you can maybe market those in. But it's very important. Remember, the Spam Act of 2003 in Australia does stipulate that you should be allowing people to opt in. And then if you do meet them because send them an email because they have an existing relationship of sorts with you, say through your webinar or through your workshop, then you've got to give them the option to opt out of your mail list as well. So make sure you follow those rules. You won't get yourself into a lot of trouble. Make it look like you, add your logo, add your banners, add your host profile and templates. And I've got a few prompts that I've included in this guide that will go out to you very shortly about how to write the descriptions, the headline generator, all that sort of stuff. So you can just whack it in the ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, and they'll help you to write that for you. But just make sure you're compliant because you don't want complaints from not being compliant. You certainly do not want to be reported as a bad net citizen.